You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
KFI AM 640, Mr. Mo Kelly here. As the Olympics come to a close this weekend, we wanted to close out this week with two of our favorite and classic Olympic conversations. It just seems right. This hour, we'll listen back to when the great Greg Louganis dropped me a line, and then we'll close out the show with three-time Olympic gold medalist gymnast Gabby Douglas when she called into the show. What's an Olympics without actual gold medal Olympians? First up, my conversation with four-time Olympic gold medalist diver Greg Louganis. My next guest is arguably the greatest diver in history, winning gold medals at both the 1984 and 1988 games. And if you know your history, he could have and should have won gold at the 1980 Olympics in Moscow, but the United States boycotted. And he even participated in the 1976 Olympics. Greg Louganis, Mr. Louganis, it is a pleasure to talk to you again. How are you, sir?
Good to hear you.
We've talked once in person before, and you have this personality which lights up a room. I can see your smile right now. I mention that because you've had all sorts of adversity in life, and yet you keep this smile. How is life for you these days?
Life is good. Life is good. It's exciting. The Olympics are happening, after, everything that we've been through and all that. So, yeah, so life is good.
Take me into the mindset of not only you as an Olympian, but other Olympians in the sense of, do you rather wish that you could compete early in the Olympics or rather wait till later in the Olympics? What's the psychology behind it?
Well, you know what? It's interesting because the diving was usually later in the Olympics. In 76, I went to that opening ceremonies, but that was the only opening ceremonies that I went to because diving was towards the end. And I was afraid, like, if I go to the opening ceremonies, I get all hyped up and have an incredible week of training and then be flat for the competition. So we were very mindful about the scheduling because we want to peak at the right time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's really, really critical. And, working closely with my coach, Juan O'Brien, he was really wonderful at tapping into the way that I would perform. Because I see myself as a performer. I'm not a competitor. So it's quite a different approach.
What goes through your mind in the days leading up to your first event and even the moments leading up to your first event?
Well, I had a routine. I would go through my dives, when I would visualize my dives the night before so I could sleep, so I could, just relax enough to get a decent night's sleep. But when you're visualizing at that time, you're ready for performance. So it's real time. So your visualization is in real time or faster. So I would go through my visualization. I'd have the whole routine kind of etched out. Also, I wouldn't always visualize perfection. If I was generally back on the board on a dive or had a particular quirk in my takeoff, then I would visualize that and make the adjustments necessary to be successful because really it's about success. Perfection is something to strive for, but it's never obtainable. And then also with diving, a dive takes less than 3 seconds. So you have multiple dives that you have to hit. That's what wins the competition. And each dive is a new creation. It's like a snowflake. You can't create it again because, every takeoff's different, and every situation is different. And you're doing the best you can with whatever the situation that you're met with.
As an outsider, it would seem to me that springboard would be more difficult than platform, if only because the springboard has a degree of variance. It may not feel the same. It may be a different board and a different pool and so forth. It may react differently to you on a given day. Is that a fair assessment?
It is. Springboard has its own little personality. I mean, the way that it's worn in, the speed of the flexion, all of that goes into the personality of the springboard, and it moves. 10-meter platform, it's always a steady surface. It's always 10 meters above the water. So, it's a lot easier as far as being consistent, with your takeoffs and that sort of thing. So, yeah, definitely springboard is much more challenging.
I watched you many years, and for me, sitting at home watching, I was always nervous for you. When you're up on that platform or you're up getting ready to start your movement out to the end of the springboard, do you hear people around you? Are you aware of your surroundings at all?
Every situation is different. At World Championships, I was aware of every rivet on the board. It was, it's like the only thing that existed was my coach, the springboard, and the water. Everything else was kind of a blur. But when I was at the 84 Olympic Games, it was totally different. Mayor Tom Bradley's coming into the stadium late. And I said, "Hey, Tom, you're late." And he said, "I'm trying to pee, Greg," And I was aware of the, lady with the flowered hat, 5 rows over, 3rd row up. It was just like, I was aware of everything. But that was the experience. Every experience is different. And you have to be able to adjust to that experience, because you're never able to, repeat what you've done in the past. What's past is past. What you're doing is structuring something that is brand new territory and just being a part of that, being in the moment. That's what they talk about when they're talking about flow and being in the moment. And, that's what it's all about.
My guest right now is 4-time Olympic gold medalist Greg Louganis. We're talking about his experience at the Olympics. You started on a trampoline many years ago, and there's a gymnastic element to diving. I want to put this question in this box. Simone Biles has pushed her sport of gymnastics, often doing moves that have never been done in the sport. She's pushed her sport along. Do you see the same thing happening in diving in the sense of competitors today? Are they pushing the sport, the boundaries and limits of the human body, or the number, or just the types of moves that people are trying to do?
Sure. Now, kids are doing front 4.5s. That's commonplace, where, we were just doing front 3.5s. And, they really are stepping it up. And that's a part of the progression. That is, you're never stagnant. You're always progressing. It's really exciting to see the growth and development and the evolution.
On the other side of the break, we'll have more of my classic conversation with 4-time Olympic gold medalist diver Greg Louganis. It's Later with Mo Kelly, KFI and iHeartRadio.
Later with Mo Kelly on KFI AM 640.
Out of the pool and was assisted, then went with the doctors into a training room, and they worked on it, and a strong medical staff was there.
The best. He has Dr. Jim Puffer, who is the head of sports medicine for the United States Olympic Committee. He has Dr. Ben Rubin, who is the head of sports medicine for United States Diving. And he has his former coach, Dr. Sammy Lee, and of course his present coach, Ron O'Brien.
Now, they did take stitches. They checked him over. The decision has been made. He will continue in the competition. 5s or better, he will make it into the finals. Yes!
What an athlete!
KFI AM 640, we're live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. We were listening to the moments and minutes after my guest, Greg Louganis, hit his head on the diving board during a dive in the 1988 Seoul Olympics. He completed the preliminaries despite the injury. That's the crazy thing. He had a concussion and finished and went on to win the gold. But it sounds a whole lot better when Greg Louganis tells the story. So, Greg, if you can, take me back to that moment where you did hit your head. What immediately was rushing through your mind?
What was immediately rushing through my mind? Well, taking off the board, I knew I was going to be close because the angle that I came off the board. But usually you're worried about hitting your hand or your arm or something. So I made sure when I came out of the dive that I reached wide so my arms wouldn't hit the board. And then I heard this big hollow thud, and I went crashing in the water, and I was thinking, what the hell was that? And I realized it was my head. And so the first emotion that I felt was I was embarrassed. I was like thinking, oh my God, how do I get out of this pool without anybody seeing me? Because the eyes of the world are watching, right? And then I got, really angry with myself because I'm supposed to be a pretty good diver, and pretty good divers don't do stuff like that. Because 6 months prior to that Olympic Games, I was diagnosed HIV positive. So I said that I was paralyzed by fear. I didn't know what my responsibility was because I was in a country that, had they known my HIV status, I wouldn't have been allowed into the country. At that time, there was not a whole lot of compassion surrounding HIV/AIDS. So it was kind of scary time, but also, under that kind of a pressure, looking back on it, it was kind of a blessing because I was the favorite going into that competition. Everybody was expecting me to win 2 gold medals, and then all of a sudden I hit my head on the board, and it's human nature to root for the underdog. And all of a sudden in that split second, I became the underdog. So, and it also kind of was kind of a wake-up call for my coach and I just to kind of pay attention that, nothing is ever guaranteed. It's about doing the work, to get through, because it was one dive at a time, just focus one dive at a time.
I remember watching that on TV. I remember seeing you getting your head stitched up on live TV for everyone to see. And I know the movie's in process they're making of your life, and I'm quite sure it's going to be great, but I remember seeing it firsthand. I didn't think that you were going to continue. Was there ever any consideration or discussion about whether you would continue at that point?
Oh, yeah. I got some zeros on that dive, so I thought I was totally out of the competition because I don't pay attention to, what other divers are doing, the scores and, point totals and all that, how everybody's stacking up. I don't pay attention to that. So I just assumed I was out of the running. And so, when my coach, Ron O'Brien, he came to me and he said, look, you don't have to get back up there. You can be done. You don't have to get back up there. And no matter what you do, I'll support you 100%. I'm behind you. And it was kind of a knee-jerk reaction and response that I turned to him and I said, I feel like we've worked too long and hard to get here, and I don't want to give up without a fight. I had the option. He gave me the option. And it was a collective decision that I would continue. And a lot of people say, how did you get over that? I didn't have time to get over that. In order to get over something, you have to process it. And you have to figure out what you did wrong, process how that happened, all of that stuff. I didn't have time. All I could do is set it aside like it never happened. And he said, do the rest of your dives. It was just a fluke that happened, me hitting my head. And he said, just do the dives like you've been doing in training, and you'll be fine. You'll get through, the prelims. Because I had 2 more dives after that. I had my reverse 1.5 and 3.5 twist, and then my reverse 3.5. And then, fortunately, the finals were in the morning. Because I spent a sleepless night, trying to figure out what I did wrong, and I couldn't figure it out. And then it was just miserable. So fortunately, the finals were in the morning. So after not having a whole lot of sleep, I don't know that I would have had the energy to make it to the evening if we had to compete in the evening.
You're bearing the lead. You won the gold medal by 25 points. You blew away the field despite that setback in the competition. It wasn't even close.
Well, we started the finals, it's with each dive, in the finals, I just got more confident with each dive. So it really kind of helped me, continue that momentum. But hitting my head on the springboard, it really forced my coach, Ron O'Brien, and I to really focus in on each one dive at a time in that moment, the best you can do in that moment.
On the other side of the break, we'll finish listening back to my classic conversation with 4-time Olympic gold medalist diver Greg Louganis. It's Later with Mo Kelly, KFI and iHeartRadio.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
KFI and iHeartRadio, it's Later with Mo Kelly. And tonight we're closing out the week and the Olympics with two of our favorite Olympics conversations. Right now, we've been hearing from Greg Louganis, 5-time Olympic medalist, 4-time gold medalist, and 1 silver. Without a doubt, one of my favorite moments in my career. Hearing his story from the legend himself. Mr. Louganis, let me come back to you. You're also doing some things now as far as mentoring and coaching and working with Red Bull. Tell me about that, please.
Yeah, I'm sports director for the Red Bull Cliff Diving World Series. And we just had our first stop was in France. And then we've got 5 more stops through the year.
Tell me some of the differences between cliff diving and platform diving other than the obvious.
Well, okay, the women are diving from 20 meters. I dive from 10 meters, so it's twice as high as I would dive from. And then the men are diving from 27 meters. And they do, in some of the stops, we do have a natural cliff that they are diving off of. So, I mean, it really is incredible. And the tricks that the kids are doing are unbelievable. I mean, it's basically the types of dives that you're going to see at the Olympic Games, but you add a half somersault with a half twist because they're going in feet first rather than head first. So it really, I mean, the technique has really come so far, and the athletes are just really, really incredible.
Along those lines, take us inside these Tokyo Games. I know you're going to be watching. I know you have a vested interest in not only what America does, but individual participants. Mm-hmm. Give us a nugget or something to look for to realize how a competition may go, or some insight as to what may happen in this competition, be it platform or springboard.
Well, we now have synchronized diving, so that's one of the events. We didn't have that while I was competing. Also, there's a stronger emphasis for the high degree of difficulty dives, the much more difficult dives. So you'll see, 4.5s and just some incredible, tumbling and twisting dives that are just, unbelievable. So the stress is more on the degree of difficulty. So you'll be on the lookout for that. And we also have some young divers who made some of the teams from the various countries. And so it could be a very young people on the podium.
What's it like? Or I should say, what do you remember from any of your medal stand ceremonies? Is it the national anthem? Is it faces in the crowd? Is it all of that? What do you remember? What's it like when they put a gold medal around your neck?
Well, okay, my first Olympics was in 1976. I was silver medalist at the 1976 Olympic Games, and that was a tough one because I went there to win. I didn't go there to take second. And I was diving with Dr. Sammy Lee, and he won 2 golds in 48 and 52, and then he coached Bobby Webster to win 2 gold medals for the U.S. In 60, 64. And then Klaus DiBiase was going for his 3rd Olympic gold medal from Italy. And so my sole purpose on this earth was to prevent Klaus from winning that gold medal, but I failed. So that was devastating. That was really, really hard. That was a difficult award ceremony. I was not a happy camper. But in 84, it was interesting because I don't remember the 3-meter springboard competition award ceremony very much because I was already thinking about 10-meter platform because I had another event coming up. Well, I mean, if you watch the medal ceremonies, you can see I'm pretty reserved in the 3-meter springboard because I'm thinking about the 10-meter platform. And then when 10-meter platform came and they put that medal around my neck, I mean, I lost it. You know, it was just, you know, the floodgates were pouring just because I did it. And then 88 was just such a totally different experience because, oh my God, that was my last competitive dives. I mean, I knew that in my heart, but I was afraid to tell anybody because I didn't want to jinx anything. But I knew in my heart that those were my last competitive dives, and that it really was emotional. And also, I'm a firm believer you don't achieve greatness on your own. And my coach, Ron O'Brien, was there for me. I couldn't have gotten through that Olympic Games without him. After hitting my head on the board and coming back and him just being in my corner, you know, because he was going through a lot too, because he lost his mother. His mother passed right before the competition started. So there was a lot of emotion that was mixed in with that 88 Olympic experience.
Before I let you go, is it fair to say that after all these years and decades, the gold medal that you didn't win still weighs on your mind or still impacts you more than the gold medals you did win?
I don't think about it a whole lot. It's funny because I have a dear friend, Susan Garrett. She said, you know, she said, "Oh, Greg Louganis, he was a silver medalist and 6-time Olympic gold medalist." I said, "Susan, you gave me 2 gold medals." She said, "Oh, you would have won in 80." It was just like, oh my God! But it was, it's really sweet. But I don't think of it a whole lot because it is what it is, and I had a really good run. World Championships, Pan American Games. I mean, there's a lot of records that I hold that still stand. It's pretty incredible. I'm proud of what I've been able to do.
Pretty incredible indeed. He is Greg Louganis, 4 times, not 6, but 4-time Olympic gold medalist. Mr. Louganis, it's been an honor to speak with you once again. Thank you for your insight. Thank you for representing USA so very well. And I do believe you would have won those 2 gold medals in 1980 as well. So don't be mad that someone just gives you an extra 2 gold medals.
Oh, you're awesome. You're so cool. It's great talking with you.
You're listening to some of my favorite Olympic conversations over the years. Next up is 3-time Olympic gold medalist, gymnast Gabby Douglas. It's Later with Mo Kelly, KFI and iHeartRadio.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640. KFI AM 640, more stimulating talk. Mo Kelly here. Gabby Douglas has 3 Olympic gold medals to her name. That much most everyone knows. But what is less often discussed is the hard work and discipline needed to reach such goals. Young people all around the country are beginning to wind down their summers and prepare to go to school. And to that end, Gabby Douglas has a tip or two to help students and parents alike hit their stride in the new year. Gabby Douglas, it's a pleasure to speak with you. How are you today?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm just actually tickled to be able to just speak with you because obviously seeing your exploits, I can only imagine the hard work which preceded it over the years. I mean, you began formal gymnastics training at age 6, and by age 8, you won your first major title. What was your training routine like in between those benchmarks?
Well, thank you so much. And like you said, I got started. And I just had a passion for gymnastics at about age 6, and then I got introduced to the Olympics when I was about age 9, and ever since then I just started setting goals for myself. My mom always taught me and my siblings to set goals for yourself, and it was so key because once I saw and visualized myself in the moment, my career took off.
But when you're 6 years old, did you think about the long-range plan, or was it just something that you enjoyed to do and you found that you had an aptitude for?
I was so young at 6 years old, and I just had a love for gymnastics. And I didn't really know what anything was. I just went out and flipped. And I didn't know about the Olympics or about any competitions until I was introduced to it in 2004. But I just had fun. I was just a little girl as a kid.
We all know that that type of training takes discipline and dedication, but where did you find the time to apply yourself academically?
I was homeschooled, which that was so key and helped me out so much because I was always in the gym, and I would just set goals for myself. I wouldn't allow myself to get overwhelmed because I know it can be overwhelming with sports and studies. You just can't let yourself be overwhelmed, and that's why I encourage young kids and even parents. That's why I'm here at Poster Brand today to tell them to write out your goals. If you don't have a goal board, I suggest you get one because it helped me. 3 gold medals later, it helped me, so I encourage you to get a goal board.
That fascinates me because you, unlike me, you are someone who grew up in the electronic era, but you still write things down as part of your organization. How did that come about?
I still write things down, and I'm a visual learner, so that helps me out a lot, and I like to see things and then try them out. So it definitely helps when you see it, and then you just imagine yourself in the moment, and you make it stick.
Since you said that, make it stick, you are working with the Post-it brand in terms of getting students and even parents, for that matter, back in the habit or into the habit of writing things down. Now, how do you use Post-it in what you do on a day-to-day basis?
I love to use Post-it super sticky notes, and they're really essential because they're transferable. You can put them in your journal. I put them on my wall and on my goal board. You can put them wherever you can see them. I mean, you can even like screenshot it and put it as a screensaver. So that's how I use the super sticky notes.
Well, see, I'm going to need a little bit of help from you, Gabby Douglas, because I need a little more organization in my life. And I'm a person, and maybe I'm like others. If you give me a bunch of Post-it notes, they may end up all over the house, all over the floor. So how do you, beyond
What's the problem with that? That's fine. As long as you see your goals, you see them on the wall, you can see them on the ceiling, as you walk out through this door. I mean, I don't think that's a problem.
I get it. Okay, and that goes back to the visualization. And the more that you see it, the reinforcement of those goals, then you are on the path to achieving them.
Exactly. Can we just talk about the color, though? The color is super vibrant. Like, it's so inviting.
Do you have a preference in color? For me, I always like the purple and gold, which goes back to my fraternity. But you have maybe a different color that you prefer?
You have to get the pink. You have to get the pink ones.
Why pink? How am I supposed to use pink everywhere? I'm a 47-year-old man.
True. Blue. Blue is the way to go then.
Okay.
Blue.
All right. Then we can meet halfway in terms of blue. We were talking about you meeting your goals. If you're just tuning in, I'm speaking with 3-time Olympic gold medalist Gabby Douglas. Gabby, we were talking about you and your goals, but after the Olympics, how do you frame your life in terms of goals that you would like to reach?
Since I am enjoying the summer and currently not training at the moment and spending a lot of time with family and friends, I still have a goal board because I am still competitive and I still want to achieve things in life. So I put them on my goal board and basically just what I want to do and what I want to achieve. Acting, I do a lot of different hobbies other than gymnastics.
When you say you're not training at this point in time, what does your training regimen look like if you're not in a competition mode?
I still work out. I still go running. I really don't like running. I hike.
You and me both.
I go hiking, which is beautiful, and swimming.
Is there anything that you find yourself that if you were not specifically going the gymnastics route, if you were to do it over again, is there another sport that you think that you could have been competitive in?
This is like a very hard question sometimes. See, I tell people running, but I hate running, so that would not work out. Then my mom said I should have been a comedian.
You got jokes, huh? You got jokes, huh?
No, I don't have jokes.
You say that possibly running then. Why not? Just because you didn't like it doesn't mean that you couldn't have been very successful at it.
It's true.
Could we then possibly see you still connected to sports in some way in terms of maybe coaching gymnastics?
I do coach a little. I do a lot of Facebook Lives. I just kind of coach through social media, and I coach different gymnastics camps.
Oh, that's outstanding. So if you were to give some advice to a young and budding gymnast, there's probably one who's listening right now before I let you go, Gabby Douglas. What would you say to that beginner, that young person who really wants to go your way in terms of really seeing how they can reach their potential in gymnastics specifically?
One, I would have to say definitely write out your goals and what you want to achieve. It helped me. I'm telling you, it helped me so much in my career. And starting off that young, just have fun and be in the moment and then just enjoy what you do.
And there you have it. She is Gabby Douglas, 3-time Olympic gold medalist. Thank you so much for coming on KFI today, and I hope to talk to you again soon.
Thank you so much.
Coming up next is Coast to Coast AM. Check out our podcast if you missed any of tonight's show. Available on the iHeartRadio app and anywhere else podcasts are available. Be sure to tune in to Soul Cal Saturdays with Tawala Sharp tomorrow at 5 p.m. And we'll talk to you again on Monday. Be safe in the meantime. KFI AM 640, live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
If there's news, if things shift, if they stay the same, if things change for better or worse, regardless of what's happening, you're going to hear it here. It's what we do.
KFI.
And KOST HD2.
Los Angeles, Orange County.
Live everywhere.